of every cat and dog they met, listening to the talk of every wayfarer they passed, and at last they heard that the kingdom at the utmost ends of the earth, where the 12 youths had borne the Princess, was not very far off. And one day they reached that distant kingdom, and going at once into the palace, they began to make friends with all the dogs and cats in the place, and to question them about the Princess and the magic ring. But no one could tell them much about either. Now, one day it chanced that Waska had gone down to the palace cellar to hunt for mice and rats, and seeing an especially fat, well-fed mouse, she pounced upon it, buried her claws in its soft fur, and was just going to gobble it up, when she was stopped by the pleading tones of the little creature, saying: "If you will only spare my life, I will be of great service to you. I will do everything in my power for you, for I am the king of the mice, and if I perish, the whole race will die out." "So be it", said Waska. "I will spare your life, but in return you must do something for me. In this castle there lives a Princess, the wicked wife of my dear master. She has stolen away his magic ring. You must get it away from her at whatever cost. Do you hear? Till you have done this, I won't take my claws out of your fur." "Good", replied the mouse. "I will do what you ask." And so saying, he summoned all the mice in his kingdom together. A countless number of mice, small and big, brown and grey, assembled and formed a circle around their king, who was a prisoner under Waska's claws. Turning to them, he said: "Dear and faithful subjects, whoever among you will steal the magic ring from the strange Princess will release me from a cruel death, and I shall honour him above all the other mice in the kingdom." Instantly a tiny mouse stepped forward and said: "I often creep about the Princess's bedroom at night, and I have noticed that she has a ring which she treasures as the apple of her eye. All day she wears it on her finger, and at night she keeps it in her mouth. I will undertake, sire, to steal away the ring for you." And the tiny mouse tripped away into the bedroom of the Princess, and waited for nightfall. Then, when the Princess had fallen asleep, it crept up onto her bed and gnawed a hole in the pillow, through which it dragged, one by one, little down feathers, and threw them under the Princess's nose. And the fluff flew into the Princess's nose and into her mouth, and starting up, she sneezed and coughed, and the ring fell out of her mouth onto the coverlet. In a flash the tiny mouse had seized it and brought it to Waska as a ransom for the king of the mice. Thereupon Waska and Schurka started off and travelled night and day, till they reached the stone tower where Martin was imprisoned, and the cat climbed up the window and called out to him: "Martin, dear master, are you still alive?" "Ah, Waska, my faithful little cat, is that you?" replied a weak voice. "I am dying of hunger. For 3 days I have not tasted food." "Be of good heart, dear master", replied Waska. "From this day forth you will know nothing but happiness and prosperity. If this were a moment to trouble you with riddles, I would make you guess what Schurka and I have brought you back. Only think, we have found you your ring." At these words Martin's joy knew no bounds, and he stroked her fondly, and she rubbed up against him and purred happily, while below Schurka bounded in the air and barked joyfully. Then Martin took the ring, and threw it from one hand into the other, and instantly the 12 youths appeared, and asked what they were to do. "Fetch me something to eat and drink as quickly as possible, and after that bring musicians hither, and let us have music all day long." Now, when the people in the town and palace heard music coming from the tower, they were filled with amazement, and came to the king with the news that witchcraft must be going on in Martin's tower, for instead of dying of starvation, he was seemingly making merry to the sound of music, and to the clatter of plates and glass and knives and forks, and the music was so enchantingly sweet that all the passers-by stood still to listen to it. On this the king sent at once a messenger to Starvation Tower, and he was so astonished with what he saw that he remained rooted to the spot. Then the king sent his chief counsellors, and they too were transfixed with wonder. At last the king came himself, and he likewise was spellbound by the beauty of the music. Then Martin summoned the 12 youths, and said to them: "Build up my castle again, and join it to the king's palace with a crystal bridge. Do not forget the trees with the golden and silver apples, and with the birds of paradise in the branches. And put back the church with the 5 cupolas, and let the bells ring out, summoning the people from the 4 corners of the kingdom. And one thing more: bring back my faithless wife, and lead her into the women's chambers." And it was all done as he commanded, and leaving Starvation Tower, he took the king, his father-in-law, by the arm, and led him into the new palace, where the Princess sat in fear and trembling, awaiting her death. And Martin spoke to the King, saying: "King and royal father, I have suffered much at the hands of your daughter. What punishment shall be dealt to her?" Then the mild King answered: "Beloved Prince and son in law, if you love me, let your anger be turned to grace, forgive my daughter, and restore her to your heart and favour." And Martin's heart was softened, and he forgave his wife, and they lived happily together ever after. And his old mother came and lived with them, and he never parted with Schurka and Waska, and I need hardly tell you that he never again let the ring out of his possession. End of the Magic Ring. Recording by Kalinda in Lüneburg, Germany, on March 10th, 2009.